The Buckeyes coming off that big win against Penn State. Now they're on the road taking on a Wisconsin team that is at a little bit of an impasse, right? We mentioned the egregious Johnny Newton ejection and how that changed the outcome of Illinois and Wisconsin. But that win for the Badgers, being able to get it done with Braylon Allen running right at where Johnny Newton was, has them still in that Big Ten West title race. And when you're welcoming Ohio State to Madison, Luke Fickell, his own relationship with Ohio State, a lot of interesting dynamics here. Right now, betting line is around 14.5 or so, with some time to sort of repair things. And Danny, you mentioned that in our long list of things that we thought would happen that haven't really played out, the Wisconsin offense is a part of that. Badgers defense, though, has been really solid. What do you think what are the keys to Wisconsin being able to put a scare in the Buckeyes on Saturday?
Find a way to slow down number 18 for Ohio State. That's pretty simple, right? And it's easier said than done. Slow down, try to put more of the game on Kyle McCord's shoulders, who is very inconsistent at times, but man, he's found a way to make the right plays. I was wondering if I was being too hard on Kyle McCord, asking him to do more. So he has 12 touchdowns, 1 interception on the year through 7 games. So I went back and looked up now, because the bar that has been set by Justin Fields, CJ Stroud, it's a really high bar, right? Mm-hmm. So through 7 games last year, CJ Stroud had 28 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I mean, it's impossible to ask him to try to maintain that type of pace. But I do think that's your best chance of success. I also think you got to get Braylon Allen going, but Penn State struggled to run with 2 backs who are, 2 of the best in the Big Ten. I don't love Wisconsin's chance in this matchup unless they can force Kyle McCord into some mistakes and a pick 6, something like that, some interceptions, but he's been pretty good with the football. I don't love their chances.
Here's my big prediction for this game. Michael Hall is going to have a huge game for the Buckeyes. Because as you were talking about, Chip, what I saw last week, what Johnny Newton was able to do to the interior of this Wisconsin offensive line, I think Michael Hall, who plays in the same spot with the same kind of pass rushing ability, is going to be an absolute game wrecker for the Buckeyes in this one. And he's going to be helped by the fact that, he's got Jack Sawyer to his right. He's got Tuia Malau to his left. They're already very good up front, but Michael Hall, I think, is going to have his best game of the year. And Danny, you mentioned Penn State struggled to run against Ohio State, even though it has 2 of the best backs in the Big Ten. Penn State struggled to run all year. That was nothing new. I think Wisconsin will struggle the same way too, because their offensive line, for a Wisconsin offensive line, it's pretty mid. I don't think there's anything spectacular about it. I don't think there's anybody on it who particularly stands out as being very good. The question for me for Ohio State's defense, though, or not even a question, it's just what they're going to have to do is they got to keep Eichenberg and Steel Chambers clean, because if they do, then they'll be able to make the tackle on Braylon Allen. But if they can't, if Wisconsin is able to get to the second level, Braylon Allen could eat, because I don't think Eichenberg and Chambers have been great at getting off blocks this year when you get to them. So that's going to be something to watch. On the other side, nobody can cover Marvin Harrison. That's really, that's what it comes down to. But I texted you guys this during the week as I was rewatching the Illinois-Wisconsin game. Ricardo Hallman for Wisconsin, their corner, is legit. He is very good, and he is going to be the guy that is probably on Marvin 90% of the time in this game. The problem for Hallman is Marvin's 6'4", Ricardo's 5'10". So as good as he is, and as good as he is, his ability to match and mirror guys, it's probably not going to matter because of the size difference, because McCord will be able to throw it up and Marvin will be able to go get it, and Hallman just won't be able to compete with him. The interesting aspect, or where I'd be super concerned if I'm Wisconsin, is if Egbuka's back and you've got Hallman on Harrison, there's nobody else in this Wisconsin secondary that's going to be able to cover Egbuka. So I would expect him to have a huge game if he's back. And the other interesting thing here, or at least the other key thing for me here, is the same thing that has been Ohio State's bugaboo all year long: the red zone woes. They are averaging 4.2 points per red zone possession. That ranks 83rd nationally. But the good news is Wisconsin's red zone defense ranks 92nd nationally in red zone efficiency. So we've got a real battle of a team that can't score versus a defense that can't stop you from scoring in the red zone. But another aspect of this that I think is also kind of important to note, Devin Brown's not playing. In recent weeks, we have seen Ohio State use Devin Brown in the red zone. He's only got one touchdown. He should have two. He fumbled at the goal line on one of them. But I thought that having him in there was an improvement for their offense because it opened things up, whereas defenses weren't able to just kind of pack in and stop the run game because Ohio State hasn't run the ball well all year. But adding Brown instead of McCord, who nobody really cares about as a runner, opened things up, and I thought they were having more success with that. So with Brown not available for this game and them not being able to go to that, it could be a more interesting matchup because while Wisconsin's DTs aren't exactly what I would call stellar, like they're good, they're mostly just big and they kind of get in the way. So that could be a problem again for Ohio State in this game.
I was standing right there in the goal line on the right on the run. He got absolutely wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Brown. I thought it was his leg, but I thought you could hear, it was one of those ones where you could hear the hit in your field level. I mean, he got absolutely wrecked.
How bad do we think Wisconsin is with this backup?
I don't think it's that much of a drop off, honestly.
It wasn't that bad.
No, the kid's got some zip.
I was watching his clips when they played Wisconsin when Mordecai got hurt, trying to figure out, if I was going to bet Illinois or not. And actually wanted to, and then somebody grabbed the 3 before I could get it. So I guess they kind of saved me there. He wasn't that bad against Iowa in pretty crazy conditions.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you have more film on him, maybe Ohio State sees some things that he doesn't do well, or that maybe Wisconsin has not asked him to do. And maybe Ohio State will read into that and say, yeah, they haven't asked him to do this yet. I wonder why. Maybe in practice, he is not very good at doing that. We get 12 versions of a team every year. Why is this one of the versions of Ohio State that's going to be amazing? You're coming off the Penn State game, which was a really physical, hard-fought game. Now you have to go on the road and lay more than 2 touchdowns. I mean, Lions 14.5 painted everywhere. I don't know. Maybe Wisconsin is that bad and they just don't have players. But you got to think you're going to get a really good effort at home from Wisconsin. Can Ohio State match that energy, right? Do they not give up a cheapy touchdown or two? If they match the energy, Wisconsin will get some points because they play super tempo, but ultimately they're not going to score enough. If Ohio State sleepwalks it, we could have a game in the second half.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah. Last week lost a bunch of heavy favorites coming off, and I thought the bye week might settle it a little bit for OU Texas because both of those teams coming off that game struggled. But they were all over the place. Washington, I mean, the hangover effect is real. The environment's not the same. The energy, the physicality. It's a great point.
I could see it being a game in the second half, to your point, Bud, but you're ultimately going to be asking Wisconsin to make plays against a defense that I think is outstanding. So, can I imagine Wisconsin as a money line sprinkle? Probably not. But could I imagine this being an ugly walk through it and get out with a 7 to 10 point win situation for Ohio State? Definitely. I mean, hey, you've got number 18. Wisconsin doesn't have number 18. Most teams don't have number 18, but they at least have the easy button as we've come to know him.
One final thing.
Yes.
Possible prop bet out there if you can find it. If you can get a Cade Stover receiving yard prop, probably go over because my feeling is they're going to try to get him on Wisconsin's Jake Chaney as much as possible, and I think Stover will absolutely roast him in that matchup.
Been liking Stover as a big part of this offense.